I have always known that BuzzFeed Books was a thing, but I didn't realize quite how made for my content it was until I stumbled across this post called "Spend a Day at Disney World and We'll Give You a Book Recommendation." If I have not expressed my love for Disney World, I have done a disservice. My family went as a kid. I have gone many times as an adult. Not that many times, like I'm not an annual pass holder or anything, but like still what most people I think would consider an unreasonable number of times. So I'm extremely excited to do this quiz. I have no idea what the books are going to be, like what genre, what age range, nothing. I think actually I'm going to do this twice. Once for my perfect Disney World day and then once for the worst Disney World day, and we'll see how those two compare. Here we go. Which park do you start at? Oh wow, this is gonna be a long video because I'm trying to espouse the benefits of each. Because generally when I do Disney, I arrive midday and do a half day. And so I think the park that is a 1.5 day park is Epcot. So I'm gonna pick Epcot. Pick an attraction. Oh, there's so many. I think I'm gonna have to go with Soarin' because Soarin' is just such an experience. Like, it's one of those where I would feel really sad if I went to Disney World and didn't go on Soarin'. If I went and I didn't go on Journey of the Little Mermaid, I wouldn't be that sad. Tower of Terror though is also up there. I'm gonna go with Soarin'. We don't have all day. Choose a snack. Dole Whip. I can tell you right now, it's Dole Whip. Always and forever, Dole Whip has my heart. Select a restaurant to go to. Okay. I haven't been to all of these. So I think I've only been to Garden Grill and Be Our Guest. Sanaa is one that I meant to go to. Spice Road Table I meant to go to. Cosmic Rays I've been to too, yeah. I think I'm gonna go with Be Our Guest because I was there near when it opened and it was such an exciting experience. Like, all the themed rooms are great. And when we went for, I think we went for breakfast or like brunch, and it wasn't obscenely expensive, and to be able to see the ballroom and the West Wing was just like theming out of this world that none of these other restaurants can compete with. My backup is Garden Grill. I'm sorry, Garden Grill, I love you. It's a rotating restaurant. How can you not love that? But I'm gonna go with Be Our Guest. Which Epcot festival is the best? I have been to Festival of the Arts and Food and Wine, but I haven't been to the others. Oh no, I've been to Festival of the Holidays. Oh wow, I go to Disney too much, but I've never been to Flower and Garden. But yeah, it's Food and Wine. Food and Wine just like has to be the best one. That's why you go to Epcot, for food and also wine. Which character do you most want to meet? Well, I really don't enjoy meeting characters when I'm at Disney, but the one who's like the best is Peter Pan. The person who does it is always like such an incredible in-character actor, and just like watching him from afar is extremely fun. So I'm gonna pick Peter Pan. Where are you stopping for a picture? This is a problem for me because it's like everywhere but also nowhere. Cinderella's castle is the traditional one, but also everyone is constantly getting their picture taken there. So it's just like really busy and there's lots of people in your photo, but like you can't go to Disney and not get a photo at Cinderella's castle. So I'm gonna pick Cinderella's castle. Finally, pick a hotel to stay at. So we almost always stay at Pop Century, which is not on this list, so I can't pick it. I guess Art of Animation is on here, which is like the sister resort. But if we're going wild, I'm gonna say Port Orleans, because it's like a mid-tier, so you still don't feel like the extravagance of staying in like the Grand Floridian, because like walking through there with your fanny pack is just like I don't know, the worlds don't mix. It feels like disrespectful to walk past the guy who's playing the piano in the lobby in your shorts and running shoes. I don't know, but Port Orleans is like a good mix and a beautiful resort, like lots of outdoor space and great food. They have beignets. How can you go wrong? Maybe that's French Quarter, but they're connected, so it doesn't matter. I'm picking Port Orleans. And I got Darkling by Ancrum. Darling, I said Darkling. I have heard of this. It's Peter Pan retelling. I've heard great things about Ancrum. I have The Wicker King on my shelf that I haven't read yet. I guess I'm reading Darling. I just finished another Peter Pan retelling too, Lost in the Neverwoods. So this will be interesting. Huh. Okay, let's retake it and do the worst Disney day. Traditionally, I think the worst place to start is Magic Kingdom because that's the most iconic park and you kind of want to build to it. If you blow it on your first day, then like, I don't know, it just doesn't seem as special. So I'm gonna say Magic Kingdom. I think that was actually my mom's rule, so I'm just carrying it forward. Pick an attraction. Okay, what do I hate? I mean, Peter Pan might have been on here, but then they did that upgrade with the line, and like the line is seriously so cool. It's definitely not worth it for like an hour to stand through it, but like a half hour, I would do it. It's really cool and has lots of interactive stuff. So there's two here that I haven't done, and they're the newest ones. Rise of the Resistance and Frozen Ever After. So I feel bad picking those. But also, am I ever gonna do Frozen Ever After? I love Frozen, but it's gonna have a line into eternity. Like it's not gonna go under an hour, conceivably ever. And whatever used to be there, the Norway ride, it was just like a regular boat ride, was super boring. So no, okay, that's not fair. I'm gonna pick Journey of the Little Mermaid because that's basically the same vibe. And it was cool to do once, but I don't need to do it again. There are other boat animatronic things that I could do. Okay, choose a snack. Okay. I think I'm gonna pick these cheeseburger pots because I had them and they weren't good. I mean, they were fine, but like they were nothing special and everything else on here is good. Okay, select a restaurant you want to go to. I'm gonna pick Chicken Guy because if I am gonna go all the way to Disney World, I'm not gonna eat the Guy Fieri chicken restaurant. I can do that anywhere. I'm gonna go to like a Disney restaurant. So sorry, Guy. Which Epcot festival is the best? Okay, which one's the worst? I don't remember anything that happens at Festival of the Holidays other than like the choir thing in America. It's got a name, I'm sure. I liked Festival of Yards and Flower. I think I'm gonna have to pick Festival of the Holidays because I've been to it and it clearly didn't stick. So that's my pick. Which character do I least want to meet? I think that I'm gonna pick Stitch, who I love with all of my heart, but there are only two suits on here, Winnie the Pooh and Stitch, and like Winnie the Pooh is just cuter and precious, and like what does Stitch have? The other people are all actors who like I just appreciate what they can do, how they can stay in character, and I don't know, that's way more interesting to me than someone in a Stitch suit. Sorry. Where are you stopping for a picture? So where am I not stopping for a picture? Nowhere and everywhere. Ugh. I think I'm gonna pick Tree of Life because this picture is very appealing, but it never actually looks like that in real life, and it never actually comes out that way on your camera. And if you don't know what it is, it just looks like a big tree. A very impressive tree, and like once you get up close, it's cool, but I don't know. The other ones seem cooler and more iconic. Finally, pick a hotel you would not want to stay at. Well, I just talked a whole bunch of crap about Grand Floridian, but Grand Floridian is at least like beautiful and really cool. Contemporary is just sort of a hotel. It's a very generic hotel. It has the monorail running right through it, which is cool in theory, but I bet it would be loud and annoying. So I'm gonna pick Contemporary. Okay. I don't know what this is. I have never seen this. Nocturna by Motayne. I have never heard of this, and fantasy is not my typical genre. This is sort of an eyes glaze over synopsis for me. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what I've done to myself by just picking the worst day. I found a bad book. Okay, that's the thing. I guess I will check back in with you once I have acquired these books. I'm scared. If you can't tell, I'm scared. Hello. So it has now been many weeks since I last talked to you, and I have acquired the 2 books. Nocturna my library had, but I had to go out and buy Darling, which I'm not mad at because it is beautiful. A nice thing to have on my shelves. This one is pretty short. It's under 300 pages in YA, and so I'm not too worried about getting through it. Since buying it, I have heard pretty, not mixed reviews, everyone's just kind of meh about it. It's definitely lowering my expectations, but sometimes that's a good thing. But I have been reading Nocturna, and I'm actually really enjoying it. To be honest, when I filmed that first clip, I was like, I'm not gonna like it. I'm gonna read the first 2 chapters and DNF it and just say that I tried. But I'm actually really enjoying it, which is a problem because it's almost 500 pages. It's like double the length of this. So it's taking me a while to get through. It's probably the longest book I've read all year so far, which is sad from a lot of people's perspective. I really don't pick up long books, but it's really good. It's about a kingdom where elemental magic is the main thing. It seems like a Hispanic fantasy world, so there are a lot of Spanish words through it, so apologies if I'm mispronouncing stuff. But people get a propio, which is like their innate magical gift that isn't elemental. It's just like whatever. So we have 2 characters, Alfie and Finn. Alfie's magic is, his magic can change to the color of anyone else's magic. So he's basically immune to any magic that gets thrown at him. It's more complicated than that, but that's the idea. And then Finn is a thief, and she has like face shifting magic, which is really fun. And so it's opening with Dez's brother. Wow, this is complicated to talk about. He's like sent to a void, basically. And everyone is like, he's dead. But Alfie believes that he's alive, and it's like his mission to track him down now. Because if he doesn't, then Alfie has to become king. Also, Nocturna is a thing that they talk about early on, where it's basically like Armageddon, like an eternal night sort of thing, which would be bad. Rambling aside, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the writing. I'm really enjoying the characters. It's just really fun. It has some pretty gory scenes, which I wasn't really expecting. Lots of decapitated things happening, which is cool. I like it. I think it qualifies as YA. It definitely doesn't feel adult, but it doesn't quite feel YA either. So I'm going to err on the side of YA, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's just going to take me a minute because it's not the kind of thing that I can power through. This, I am anticipating being able to power through. Oh, the one thing that I did think was interesting tie into this book was in Nocturna, your shadow is sort of a manifestation of your feelings. So like if you're nervous on the inside, you can be cool, but your shadow will be fidgeting sort of idea, which, you know, Peter Pan has a shadow thing. So that's now the glue holding this whole video together. Anyway, I'll get back to you after I have finished Nocturna, and we'll go from there. Alright, I have finished Nocturna. It actually didn't end up taking me that long from the last time I talked to you. Like, it took me longer to read the 40% than it did to read the next 60. I do think the ending had some good stuff in it, some good tension. I think there were a lot of contrivances though, or like unnecessary stuff. The whole book also takes place over only 2 days, I think, which definitely affects the pacing. It should make it faster, but for some reason I felt like it kind of slowed it down, or it made things more unbelievable. Like, this is a coincidence because it's been 30 minutes since this previous thing happened, whereas if it had been over a longer period of time, it wouldn't feel quite so contrived. But that being said, I did end up really enjoying it. For something that I thought I was going to DNF, I had a really good time. It's also a debut, and I think the author did a really good job. There are some things that, like, I think make it feel debut-y. Maybe I really should just check if it's officially YA or not, but maybe that's the thing that I'm feeling isn't YA, but it's debut. Maybe. I really loved how the magic system was set up. I enjoyed all of the side characters. I enjoyed all of the conversations. There's also the bad guy who I really enjoyed. I could have done with a whole story about him and like his backstory. I just thought he was really interesting. So that's a good hook for me if you would give me a villain that I love. And all of the other characters I thought were really fun. I do think it was too long. So it's almost 500 pages and I don't think it needed to be that long, especially like 500 pages over 2 days. It's not gonna fly for me. But with all of that being said, I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I think it was super solid. I think that that is the highest level that I could ever give it because it is a fantasy. That's not my typical genre. It's gonna be hard to get 5 stars from it. So 4, I'm feeling really good about. It does have a sequel. I think it's gonna be 3 books. I doubt that I'm gonna pick up the second one just because I don't usually read series, and I do think that this one wrapped up pretty well. There are little things that are open, but the main chunk of this story is complete. So far so good. I don't know what that means for this. If the book that represents the worst day was good and this is the best day, then this has to be 5 stars. There's nowhere to go but up, right? So I'm going to start this and let you know how I feel. I'm just holding the dust jacket because I'm a weirdo. I'm 120 pages into Darling and I don't like it. I don't think it's very good. The first thing I don't like, which is probably a me thing, is that it's a very direct retelling. Not direct, but like Wendy is named Wendy Darling, Peter is named Peter Pan, Tinkerbell is named Tinkerbell. Like, I feel like a retelling should be homage more so than here are all of the things, but now we're in Chicago. That might not be something that bothers most people, but it definitely bothers me. The other thing is there's too many characters. So we've just been introduced to the Lost Boys and there's like 8 of them probably. And then we just got introduced to a whole other group of people and it's just too many names, not enough personality to distinguish anybody. It's a lot, especially if like it's not something you're directly pulling from the original story, then I don't have a basis for it. Because they've also talked about detective hook in this one. I understand the dynamic. You have to do less work to convince me of the dynamics between these characters. But for someone just named like Curly, I don't know anything about them. There's also the crocodile who's a bounty hunter, I think. It's very strange. Thirdly, the thing I don't like about this is I don't know what's going on. I'm 120 pages in and I don't know what's going on. A lot of it is just like everyone knows something and they're not telling Wendy, but that's like all they talk about. You have to give me something. Wendy's just kind of been thrown into this situation. Everyone's being really dodgy about it, which sure, maybe it's tension and it'll get resolved later, but I'm 120 pages in. Like, I should have some idea of what's going on. It's definitely not where I expected this book to go. And it's also strange because it's not really saying anything. It's got a black protagonist who has a run-in with the police and she has, well, that's simplifying it, but she has a throwaway line about like, police aren't great, where that should have been expanded on a lot. Like something needs to be said in here and I feel like it's just words kind of happening, and maybe whatever secret they're talking about will be revealed and everything will be amazing, but we're not there yet. And this book isn't very big, so we don't have a lot of time to get there. Another thing I wanted to mention was pretty early on in the book, Her mom tells a story about when she was a kid and they went to a cemetery at night and they met this guy called the leader, but she doesn't remember what his real name was. And it's like, it's Peter. It's Peter, right? If the book does anything other than making this guy Peter, I will be extremely surprised, considering how literal everything has been up to this point. Like, it's Peter. It's in the movie. It's in the book. It's Peter. That sort of setup of intrigue is immediately taken away. Maybe I'm being too harsh because this is supposed to be YA, but even young people know Peter Pan. Despite, I actually rewatched it recently and it's challenging. They have a disclaimer at the beginning saying that it has harmful depictions of cultures, and oh boy, sure does. Even despite that, it wasn't what I remember it being or wanting it to be. And that also just feels like something that this book should address. Like, it feels like it's going to, and then it doesn't. Also, in relation to it being super literal, we're talking about this bar called the Mermaid's Lagoon. Is it just me? Is it just me that is annoyed by how on the nose that one? It is a great name for a bar. If that had been the only thing, I would be okay with that. But it's not, and I'm annoyed. All right, let's talk about it. This was a book. I read it. So we did finally get to find out what everyone was sort of hinting at. Everyone knows the secret except for Wendy. We did find out what that was, and I do think it was good. There was a moment where I was thinking, finally we've had the payoff. This book is good now. But I don't think I would go so far as to call it good. This is a 2-star for me, which is a shame because I think there's a lot of potential here. I think there's a lot of topics that could be explored that just super weren't. The big idea in here is about cults, I think. It's hard to distill into one thing. It covers a lot, but the basic idea is that the Lost Boys are sort of under Peter's thumb, and he's manipulative but charismatic as a cult leader. That is my read of it. I'm very interested to read some reviews and see what other people's takes were, because I think there is a lot to explore in here, but I don't think the book explored it. I'm gonna spoil the very end, which like isn't really a spoiler. You can kind of see it coming from a while away. So the Lost Boys, some of them have families, some of them are orphans. So in the end, the Darlings adopt all of them. And the last line of the book is Wendy saying she hated this family. Having to have 5 new siblings in your home in a new city, like, that's the setup to a new thing. That's the pilot episode of the Brady Bunch, and you're just kind of sloughing it off. Maybe I'm being harsh. I feel like I'm being harsh, but there was nothing else in the book that I could really root for. It all just kind of happens, and it all happens over one night. So Wendy's relationship with these people isn't really well fleshed out. They're all bonded by trauma. So are they going to get along well? Probably not. I am focusing too much on that. It's hardly a bad thing. Adopting orphans is objectively a good thing. I don't know, it just seemed like we should talk about it. But yeah, overall, the book just like didn't do anything. It's all leading up to the big reveal of whatever, and then it's dealt with pretty quickly. And I don't feel like I got anything from this. It wasn't atmospheric. It wasn't deep. It didn't really have anything to say. It tiptoed around a lot of stuff. It should have been shorter or longer. I think if this had been a novella, it wouldn't have had the same problems because you didn't need depth and complexity, and maybe we could have had fewer characters. Which only got more confusing as it goes on, because the Lost Boys have, I think Curly was when I mentioned, has a normal name, like Brian or something. So then everyone has double names that you now have to keep track of. It's too much. This is a tiny book. We do not need that. In terms of how this relates to my Disney day. I don't really know. It was a very chaotic day. It all takes place in one day in the book. Maybe that's something. But she's up until sunrise and I need my beauty sleep. We are like backing out of the park as the fireworks are going off so we can get out as quickly as possible. We are not adventurous like these people might be. So thank you for joining me on this BuzzFeed quiz reading thing. It was fun to do, and I'm actually really pleased that I got to read Nocturna. That is something that never would have been on my radar that I actually really enjoyed. Maybe I have to be nicer to fantasy in the future. Oh, I shouldn't commit to that. That's not something I'm prepared to follow up on. I already have more BuzzFeed quiz book things planned for the future. So subscribe if you're not. I don't know if I've ever said that on this channel. So that you can catch the next one. It's going to be fun, I assume. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!